Hi guys, I'm Shmee. Hello to you and welcome back to the channel where today you join me to take a good look and go for a first drive in the brand new BMW Z4. It's now the third generation of their two-seat Roadster. This is the M40i. We'll introduce the car, have a good look around it, then go for a drive on the roads, experience it both with the roof up and roof down, check out the mechanism and how exactly that works. And then we'll come back to take a proper look around the interior and run through some of the technology, the dashboard and the displays that you have available to you. So let's get started and take a look at the brand new BMW Z4. There's one significant difference with the new model of the small two-seat Roadster when compared to its predecessors, and that's in terms of the roof. So for this generation, there's one configuration available. As you see here, the convertible with a folding fabric soft top. Now what's interesting about that is to look back at the previous cars, where the first generation offered two configurations, one like this, a fabric convertible roof, and the other a fixed roof coupe. And then for the second generation, the E89, one of which I had back at the time, BMW introduced a folding hardtop roof mechanism which basically covered all bases in one single car. But for the third gen, for a number of reasons, they've reverted back to having the soft top. So one of those is that of course it's a sports car. Saving weight is important to enhance the dynamics and the driving experience, and a fabric soft top in this case is 50 kilos lighter than having the hardtop convertible roof. Another is that it can be opened and closed in under 10 seconds while you're on the move, of course opening up the open air experience even quicker. But third, and also very interesting to me, is that to create the Z4, BMW partnered with Toyota, who are developing their Supra, which is available only as a coupe. So between the two cars, there are a number of similarities but also many differences, but let's focus today on the Z4 that we have here. This particular car is the flagship of the range. You have three different models available at launch: the S-Drive 20i, the S-Drive 30i, and this car, the M40i. So the M representing the spice that comes from BMW M that's been injected into it. But let's first talk about the design. You have the familiar Roadster style traits, the two-seat configuration sitting far back towards the rear axle with an extended front bonnet, and in fact some of the styling cues come from BMW's history in the form of the 507 and more recently with the Z8. It's the sixth Z model in total, but they've all followed a pretty similar formula. In this car we've got the 3-litre turbocharged straight six. It makes 340 horsepower and 500 newton meters. That means you'll get to 100 kilometers an hour, 62 miles an hour in under 5 seconds, and onto a limited top speed of 250 kilometers, 155 miles per hour. Looking at the car though, you'll see it's sporty. It shows intent. The creases are sharp, the lines are prominent. It has traditional features like the dual kidney grills around the front, albeit with a new style of presentation, a new finish, and also a new mesh on the insides. You've got the LED lights that come as standard that wrap around the front corners, and you can see down towards the bottom the aggression and styling that's gone into the bumper, also for cooling that comes through, and the integration of technology in quite an interesting way. Around the sides of the car you have these lines that continue and emphasize the rear muscular arches, the air breather that sits on the front fender with the M badge in the center. We've got large wheels, of course, on the car, and then coming round towards the back, the tail lights wrap around the edges themselves beneath the lip spoiler that's integrated into the boot lid. And if we come down towards the bottom, you'll see the sculpture of the diffuser with the exhaust tailpipes, one on each side, the five-sided finishes that you've got, and all these shaped components that just give the car some presence and styling from the exterior. If we come forwards, a little had to change from the original concept. So we still have, well, we have the fabric soft top. The concept didn't actually have a soft top roof at all. It was an open barchetta style. This sits without a cover to save weight. It can just open and close over the top, but the buttresses had to go to integrate the roll hoops, of course, for safety and legislation. On the inside, you can have a quick glimpse at this. We'll go through it all in more detail later on, but the latest generation style live cockpit with the dual digital displays. It's the latest software that offers all sorts of technology as well. And in fact, this car comes very, very highly equipped in terms of the technology and options that you can actually have on it and what it offers in terms of safety and other things that are pretty compulsory and important on a modern car. So that's a quick walk around. Let's jump in though, get it started up and see what it's like to drive. It is of course keyless, but I have the key here just to show you, the small key with the M badging on the side. But let's just put that back in my pocket, open the car, and we can jump in and get this started up. So we're greeted by the M40i side sills. We have the tan in this car contrasting against the satin grey paintwork. The start-stop button is here in the centre. Fire it into life. So we've got the 10-inch or so screen in front of us with the new style display. This is the latest 7th generation of the software that we have on offer. So with the touchscreen, the tiles style setup, you can also control through the iDrive selector, and we've got the 8-speed auto ZF gearbox too. So let's just head on out then and see what it's going to be like. I'm departing from Estoril circuit, where we've been driving for the day with a variety of different BMW models, the M5 Competition, the M850i, but this is the perfect evening to enjoy a car like this. It's warm but not too warm. The sun is in and out of the clouds, so it's not too much on me, but basically just enjoying the car for everything that a driver's car is about. These are literally my first couple of meters or half kilometre, I could say, actually driving the car. We've got a little tunnel here. I'm in comfort mode. It's not in loud sport or sport plus mode at the moment, but basically automatically driving, letting the car do its thing, cruising on out towards the exit. It rides smoothly, it feels very small. I mean, that's the big thing about a car like this. It is genuinely tiny, which just gives you a freedom while driving. You aren't stressed about what you're doing, where you are, what you're getting up to. We'll head on out towards the road, and I think right at this moment I will actually press the button here to go into, let's put it into Sport Plus directly, just to enjoy some noise and a little bit of acceleration, because at the end of the day, it's a car that is designed to put a smile on your face. So, away we go. Yes! You get that rasp, and then you get the burbles, lots of them. So you can put it to the side to go into manual should you prefer. The crackles, that's nice! Yeah, it's not the fastest thing in the world, I'm not going to lie about it, but it doesn't necessarily need to be. I think it's about the whole setup, and that's what I'm going to try and do now, to head to a tight twisty road to experience the whole balance of the car, the chassis, the suspension, trying the different modes. You can have a variety of different configurations and settings, of course. In this car it will change throttle response, the electric steering, the chassis, the suspension setup, dampers. Basically you can configure the driving dynamics of the car depending which options you have, and like I said, it comes very highly equipped from standard actually on a UK car, so you get a lot of things by default, like lane guidance technology and well, you name it, it's all there basically. If you have a look at the spec list, you'll find that you can have a lot of different things. I'm hoping it's not going to be too busy, but it just squeezes on out. You do get some very, very good throttle response actually. Not much in terms of waiting for the turbo or anything like that. 500 Newton meters of torque is a lot compared, or relatively, to the scale of the car. So let's head this way, where I think we will find the most fun bit of road that I'm going to be in store for in this little outing. Although actually, before I get that far, let's go at 50 kilometers an hour and just close up the roof. So it drops the side windows slightly. The roof literally folds over. You can do it up to 50 kilometers an hour, 31 miles per hour. It latches itself down. I think it will close back up the windows. And there we go. Convertible roof movement complete as it notifies me on the dashboard. Very, very, very easy to do, but let's actually open that back up. Because to be honest, I'm driving a Roadster on a lovely evening like this. You get a bit of a blustery breeze over you as it actually opens, but it's that simple and it's done. Super easy. Okay then, let's go find the twists and turns. Now this is what I'm talking about, the right kind of road for this kind of car. Twisty but smooth tarmac, perfect for a nimble machine. Now I'm driving in an automatic gearbox setting. You can push it to the left and it will go into the sportier setting, so you get the S gears rather than the normal gears, or you can use a paddle then and it will stay manual from there on. But driving up here, this is exactly the right place to enjoy a little car like this, to get it up towards the red line. You get some amazing cracks as well on the shifts out of it. But it's an amount of power you can use and have some fun. Some cars these days just have too much power. It sits amazingly flat in the corners. And as I kind of expected, it's a very balanced package. It feels like it works incredibly well together. The steering gives you good feedback. I noticed the rear kind of wants to step out quite often, and it's obviously doing its traction thing to hold it in. I haven't turned off traction or put it in the sporty mode. You can do that with the press of the button here, and it will go into sportier traction, where it would let the back just give you a little bit of slip, which won't intervene quite so much. But this style, this go-kart style, the short wheelbase, very direct steering, not too much steering input required, very responsive throttle pedals as we have some M850i's going the other way, all out testing on these lovely, lovely roads. Yes, this is really good. This is the right place to drive a car like this. So let's spin around and drive this road again. You know what I'm left thinking at this stage? Is that this works. This is really fun. And sometimes a car should just put a smile on your face. It's a category, a segment of the market that's shrinking. Small, enjoyable sports cars, but this does it very, very well. And in fact, down a countryside road, not many cars would get there quicker than this would. This amount of power is more than enough to carry through the corners, get some decent speed. Brakes are solid as well, especially considering we're going downhill at the moment. But you can actually use the rev range without feeling like you're going way too fast for the conditions. We haven't had any snaps from the exhaust doing this yet, but I'm enjoying this an awful lot at the moment. This is a really, really, really good setup, especially on this road. Perfect place to bring it, honestly. Could not have been better. You get a lot of different sounds out of this car. I think even depending which different driving mode you're in makes different noises out of it. But in manual right now, let me just slow down a notch and go down to second gear. You get a lot of induction noise coming from the car. And there we go, those cracks. That was fantastic. So it's on liftoff that you also get lots of sounds out of it. And if I put it back into drive for the moment, when you just kind of press the throttle a little bit, squeeze it down a touch, you get a lot of burbles overrunning in the mid-range of the revs, which is quite fun because that's real world, right? That's where you're actually driving it. So let's pop it into sport but automatic mode and just test that. Yeah, there we go. I'm not sure how much of that comes through on the camera, but I get those burbles in the background. A two-seat Roadster is so much fun. This kind of driving configuration, I love that it shifted down there. It knew that I wanted to, I didn't have to. Perhaps I wouldn't have gone up a gear where it did though, but I'm having a whale of a time. So could it perhaps be a bit more lively? You know, it intervenes a lot, it stops you doing anything silly. Perhaps it could, you know, let you chuck it around a touch more, for example there, just a touch. That's a traction in sport mode, it only barely wants to let it go. And we're in warm temperatures to be fair, but just enjoying this road so much. It might be a touch unfair on the car, but I'm pondering what happens on a road like this if I put it into comfort mode. I'm not going to go into Eco Pro, put traction back on fully and put it into drive. So we're in normal automatic mode. Is it going to be too wallowy? Well, you can feel the difference. You can instantly feel that it doesn't stay quite so flat through that first corner. And obviously the front end is going to have to work a lot harder. It needs stiffer dampers due to the setup to actually hold it, but that's why it allows you to vary these settings, right? That's why it allows you to configure it for the road on which you're driving. And actually it's not too bad at all. And you've also got here the adaptive button where the car will work out what you want to do. So if you're doing this and you turn the steering wheel aggressively and have your foot on the throttle, it stiffens up, and I think it did it even there. First example, felt it straight away, just not quite as swallow as it was in comfort mode, but this is the environment in which to test that. And you just feel like this is the real world car, especially in the UK. Driving this on our small, tight, twisty, bumpy roads in the UK, it would be right at home. Admittedly, this is good tarmac, much better than our B roads might have in the countryside. But they're expecting, BMW UK said, around 2,500 sales of these in the first year, which is quite a strong number. But then it is a market, even if we have cold and rubbish weather, we love having the roof down. That's just a thing that Brits seem to do. And certainly, well, what I enjoyed doing back when I had one, although that was mostly through the summer that I owned it. This is clearly a step ahead of the car that I owned back then, massively. I mean, I had the S-Drive 30i, which sat beneath the 35i, which has technically been superseded now by the M40i range. That was the top back then, the M40i is the top now. But this is a power plant that's been found in various different BMW models, and it goes down very well. It has a very raspy noise to it, but that straight six-cylinder sound that we know from BMWs. So what else can I say while I'm driving? Well, I've got a head-up display, I've got the digital screens, I've got various controls and technology and assistance, I've got the button that can configure various different things depending how I want it. It's all really pretty good. It's not necessarily a cheap car, you know, it starts at £49,000, but I don't think that's actually particularly expensive either when you consider what you're actually getting in the M40i. I like it, it's good, it's good fun. Right place, right? I think, you know, there are places where this wouldn't be right, but bring it to the exact road like this, and it's bang at home. and I don't think anything could be more appropriate or better suited. All right, then I've made it back to base, where I'm currently parked looking at this fantastic lineup, some of the history and heritage of the BMW Z models in a line in front of us, looking incredible. But let's focus on what we have inside this car, and obviously I've just been reversing, so we've got the rear camera currently loaded up. I think we can turn that off and go back to the main screen, but I can show you some of the settings, the screens, and the general interior before we get to exploring the roof, because I want to show you how the roof actually works from the outside, because you can do it from the key. So in front of us, we've got the 10.25 inch digital display. You can see at the left, we've got the speedometer, goes up to 250 Ks, digital numerical readout in the center. Our gear selector is over there to the right inside the rev counter. And when you go through the different driving modes, this changes slightly. So if I put it for now, as you can see on there, into Sport Plus, you can then put it into drive and you can see how it shows sport, or if you go into manual, for example. So I'll put it back into park for the moment. You've got the navigation screen in the center of this, which is all really nicely integrated. In fact, the whole of this display, the way, for example, it illuminates and you can see the numbers counting up, it's really nice. Oh, look at that. Z8 comes through in red. Beautiful. Sounds good as well when you give it a few blips like that. You've got your fuel gauge down there, your temperature gauge over to the right, tells you where you are here, the readout of the current speed. Oh, I like that little M logo that you have down there too, tucked in underneath that. So on the steering wheel, you have cruise control. This car has adaptive cruise control, even though you didn't necessarily spot the sensor on the outside, which is really clever. So I'll show you that in a moment. On the right side, you have some of your media controls. We've got a heated steering wheel, convertible after all. You can drive it in the winter. You've got the paddles on the back of the wheel, kind of electronic buttons almost, as opposed to shift paddles. Then to the left, you've got your board computer and your lights, and over to the right, you've got your wipers. On the dashboard on the left, you've got your controls for the lights, side lights, parking lights, etc. Coming around, you've got your memory seats, electronic seats we have in this car, the door release with the lock buttons, your windows and your mirrors too. But just to show you quickly, the controls for the seats down here with the lumbar, the various adjustments that you have available to you. Quite awkward to see actually, the way they're tucked quite deep down into the side there. Very small door pocket underneath the speaker grille. You're not going to fit a lot of stuff into that space, I'm not going to lie, very, very small. Then coming through to the centre, the touchscreen with the 7th generation iDrive operating system. In here you can see a lot of information. He says it shouldn't lag on me. There we go, I hadn't pressed it properly, but we can get into vehicle status, see some different information about the car. Normally it responds pretty well overall. Communications, the phone, you can go through different settings. It does work really, really decently. You can change which tiles are on display, and when you click them, they'll load up different pages. And you've also got the hotkeys here, which will, as you can see, as I run my finger over at the top, it's changing what it currently shows. So it sort of knows where you're pressing before you actually press it down. System works really very well overall, it has to be said. I like this a lot. I'm quite impressed with it. New generation, it needed an update and it's got it. So as well as using the touchscreen, you can also control it from the toggle here. So this center console is actually quite interesting in its own right. It's very similar to, well, the 8 Series. It's the new style system. In here though, it's not quite the same premium quality as in the 8 Series. It's quite, plasticky, these buttons, whereas the 8 has a glossier finish to it over the top. You've got very similar control layout though, the start-stop button, your driving mode, Sport, Comfort, Eco Pro, adaptive, auto handbrake, electronic handbrake, the button for the roof. Up to the left, the missing one would be the 360 cameras in the other cars. Never a big fan of blanking plates, I think it looks a bit annoying. Traction control, the rear camera and parking sensors, auto start-stop. To put it into gear, you press the unlock button on the side, pull it, and then you press P to go back into park. On the right side, you have some hotkeys for the entertainment, so to get it straight back to home. Down at the bottom, back option, and you can control various different modes as an M850i pulls in too. So you've got lots of controls that you can do through this. This finish, not entirely sure about it, not my biggest thing. This pocket opens up though. You've got a wireless charging pad for your phone, USB port, cigarette port, and a small area of storage space as well. But maybe it'd be nice if that was spring loaded or something, as opposed to pushing it forwards and backwards. So up here, obviously your climate control, single zone climate control. In here, no dual zone, I tell a lie, we've got left and right, silly me. You have your various multi-stage automatic settings, which I'm a big fan of, as I've talked about before. And if we press assistance up here, you can get into the individual assistance settings, where you can see some of the options that are available to us. So front collision warning, lane departure warning, steering intervention, lane change. Basically, we've got a decent number of things here, and you can configure which ones are on and which ones are off. If we then do go into the Sport Plus mode configuration, you can see how you can configure individual, change the damping, the steering, the engine, the transmission, or reset it back to standard. So you can set up the car exactly how you'd like to have it when you go out to drive. And I do love having those settings available to you as the driver. It all works very, very well. So let's, for the moment, I think just switch it back off and jump on out. The seats themselves are very nice. Look at this quilting, the stitching that they have up here. I like this a lot, quite unique styling. Nice feel to the leather that you have as well. And then back here on the parcel shelf, you've got a small storage tray that you could use to fit some decent things in, actually. I think you could get a lot of stuff back here, and even a storage cubby in the back that goes to go all the way through. No, it doesn't go quite all the way through unless you open up the back. But again, more storage space available to you inside the car. So we've got the windows up at the moment, but let me show you the boot space so we can see how this looks. And excuse my stuff that's currently all over the place. You've got a reasonable amount of storage back here. You can see how that through-load system opens up from the back, but of course the roof doesn't intrude into the back. So you've got 50% more space than the previous generation, 281 litres in total, but you could fit some decent sized cases back here, or lots of shopping, which actually makes it quite a practical and usable car. I'm impressed by the amount of space that it has back there. No power fold tailgate or anything like that, so you close it back down from the top of the spoiler. But now let me grab the key, because I want to show you what the roof looks like when we close it from the outside. So if you lock the car, I think if you just hold it down, one press and hold it down, the roof should do its thing. The windows drop, the mechanism opens, and that soft top goes over. The mirrors have closed as well. It's that simple. And then windows up, done. 10 seconds or so, and we now have the closed car. Yes, I think the roof looks a little bit awkward. In my first look video of the car, I think I said the same. I feel like it's slightly stumpy, but that's the challenge, isn't it? To make it work cleanly. It looks better than the folding hardtop did, but still ever so slightly awkward. The mirrors, of course, in their folded position, but we can press the button, unlock it, hold it, and the roof will revert the other way. Windows back down and open. It shall fold. Nice and simply. That's super efficient, easy to do. There's a deflector in place in the centre between the roll hoops on either side, and I do like how they have the Z4 badge worn on the side of them right there. So coming around, just to think a little more about how the air breather works, it's open through the 3 different sections. You've got the M badge between the 2 fins, but basically air that's swelling around is allowed out through here and goes down the side of the car, escaping, getting out of the way. Around the front, to show you the sensors we talked about. So this is very cleverly integrated. Often in BMWs you have a big round thing in the centre underneath the number plate, and it's not particularly sightly. But in this car, the integration of the design on either side has these parts which actually have the sensors hidden within them. So you can't necessarily see them, but they are there to help with detecting things that are in front of you and the like, without being too unsightly from the front of the car. Now when you're looking at the front, you'll notice quite how low the nose is. It's really, really low when it comes down to this point. And you have this different finish, this different material used for the grills with that mesh on the inside. That's unique to this car as well. That hasn't been seen on other models. So I think it's a good looking thing. Perhaps I think it's a bit stumpy at the front. The bonnet's a little bit too long, but overall, it's really not a bad thing at all to enjoy driving. Just a few more things to touch on. So this car, of course, being a press car to drive, is very highly equipped. We have the M Performance brakes, we've got the M Sport differential, the M Adaptive suspension. It starts in the UK, as I said, from £49,050, but you do get a quite highly equipped car for that price. They're going to be going on sale from March 2019 for the UK. So I think that is more or less everything there is to show you and tell you about the new BMW Z4, and in particular the M40i variant. I've had an awesome day today driving it. I think you bring it to the right road like that to experience a car like this, and it just about meets perfection. An awesome amount of fun, especially with the weather, the sun setting, the lovely afternoon that it's been, without being too hot, without being too cold. Of course, when it comes to the design, lots of things to perhaps talk about and discuss. Some people like certain aspects, some don't. I think it's distinctly characterized from previous generations, from previous models. It's a format we know, it's instantly BMW, and ultimately that's what it's supposed to be. And certainly for this kind of car, well, it does a pretty good job, right? Can't really complain. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. Thank you very much, as always, for watching. I appreciate your support, but that's it for this time with the new BMW Z4, and I will see you again very, very soon. Cheers.